I have absolutely zero idea how to start this video. I have tried to start this video multiple times, but here we are. I am now 2.5 weeks after my surgery, and I want to share this experience because I don't just want to share about the good things in my life, I also want to share about the bad. I hope and pray that this horrible situation can be used for God's glory, and that women who have experienced pregnancy loss of all types, whether it be miscarriage, ectopic pregnancy, whatever the circumstances, I want you to feel seen, heard, and validated, and know that you're not alone. So I appreciate you listening to my story. I will take you back a little bit to catch you up on Daniel and I's journey to starting our family. I got my IUD out last Wednesday. Today is, I think, August 7th, 2023. It's gonna be interesting to see, like, am I posting this in 6 months? Am I posting this in 2 years? Am I never posting this? Like, I don't know what the journey is ahead, but I will be leaning on God and trusting him through the process. Let's make a baby. Let's make a baby. On Friday, September 29th, I woke up in the morning. I started getting ready to go to my workout class. I like to work out in the mornings, and I started bleeding a lot. It was technically early for my period to come, but my periods have always been irregular, so it wasn't alarming. I proceeded to get ready. I felt really tired, but I went to my workout class, and while I was working out, I began to feel incredibly lightheaded. Like, I knew I was gonna pass out. I do Pilates on reformer machines where you're standing, and I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so embarrassing if I pass out while I'm standing on this machine, like it's gonna cause a scene. So I went to the bathroom. I like sat on the ground in the bathroom, put my head between my legs to try to, I don't know if this is scientifically correct, but get blood to rush to my head. And I still felt really lightheaded. So I went back into the class, and of course we had like a guy teacher that day where if it would have been a female teacher, I would have whispered in her ear and been like, hey, I just started my period. I feel like crap, I'm gonna sneak out of class. But it was a guy, so I didn't want to whisper in his ear I started my period. So I just like awkwardly packed up my stuff and left the room. As I was walking into the lobby, I was trying to explain to the woman at the desk like why I was leaving in the middle of the class. And then I fell to my knees in so much abdominal pain like I've never experienced. And I felt so much pain that I felt like I was gonna pass out, and then instead I threw up. I threw up all over the floor. She was so sweet and kind. She gave me these like Cheez-It cracker things to like raise my blood sugar, because that's what we thought at the time was going on. I can't think of another word to describe the pain other than excruciating, and that's a word I've never used like in my vocabulary. I was like, okay, thank you for your help. I got in my car, I called Daniel. He was at work. Luckily he answered, and I was like, hey, I felt like I was gonna pass out in my workout class. Then I threw up. I can't express to you the amount of pain that I'm feeling right now. I'm worried I'm gonna pass out driving home. Like, what do you think I should do? And he was like, I don't know, like, do you feel well enough to drive? Like, he's in the middle of his workday, just so chaotic, like not understanding or comprehending the level of pain that I was in, for sure. And he was just like, if you feel good enough to go home, like you should go home and like lay in bed, try to like drink some Gatorade, you know, get some electrolytes. So I drive home and I go upstairs and I lay in bed. I was in too much pain to fall asleep, so I was trying to distract myself with like YouTube videos, and then I started to feel this pain where I felt like I was either going to pass out or throw up. So I got on the floor. I couldn't make it to the toilet. I got on the floor, like heaving over, like ready to throw up or pass out or something, and then the doorbell rang. I called Daniel, hysterically crying, saying, someone's at the door. I can't get to the door. Can he look on the app to see who's at the door? And he's like, okay, I'm coming home. Daniel's about 30 minutes away. When he gets home, he sees me laying on the floor crying, and he's like, okay, I think we should go to the hospital. In my eyes, in my mind, you go to the emergency room if you can't breathe, if your arm was cut off, if you broke your arm, not period pains, or what I thought to be period pains. Like, I kept thinking to myself, like, what am I gonna do? Go to the ER and be like, hey, I just started my period, and like, I'm in a lot of pain. Like almost gaslighting myself to the level of pain that I was having, frankly, because I didn't feel that I would be believed for the level of pain that I was feeling. Daniel so wisely saw the severity of the situation, knew that I needed to go to the ER, and saw and believed the level of pain that I was in. And I firmly believe that his actions are a reason that I'm here today. We got to the ER. I don't know medical terms, so forgive me, did a test on my finger and saw that my heart rate was elevated drastically, and the machine was like beeping, beeping, beeping. And they were like, okay, they let me cut people and go ahead to like the next level of the ER, where they began asking me a lot of questions about what was going on, and were going to try to take my blood, I think have me pee in a cup, and different things like that. So while they're asking me all these questions, I'm like sitting in a chair, they're asking me questions, and I remember saying, I don't feel good. I feel like I'm going to pass out. A couple seconds later, I passed out. Daniel and the nurses told me that I then came back to, and then I passed out again. So I was essentially passing out. Hi, Wednesday. Hey, Mamacita. All right, we have picked up an emotional support animal in this journey and along the story. So I passed out from the pain twice. They then put me in a wheelchair, and like, it was like I was on an episode of Grey's Anatomy, y'all. They like dramatically wheeled me into a emergency room, like an actual room with a bed and all the things, and start drawing my blood. I believe at this point is when they started pushing morphine through my IV for the pain. The doctor quickly came in. I will never forget it in my life. She turns to the nurse who's still in the room and says, okay, we ran, I think it's called HCG, which determines if you're pregnant, right? She's like, her test came back negative for pregnancy, right? And the nurse is like, and then the doctor was like, negative, right? And she's like, she was trying to convey to the doctor what was going on, like secretively, so that I wouldn't hear it, but like I was sitting right there. And then the doctor looks at me and she goes, okay, so you're pregnant. No one, and I mean no one, deserves to find out that they are pregnant on a stretcher, given morphine, in the most excruciating pain of their life. You should find that out in the comfort of your own home, joyously. We all knew something was wrong with the baby at that point, and they were determined to figure out what the cause of the issue was. I had the most incredible nurses ever. The next nurse came in and did a ultrasound like on top of my stomach. She did an ultrasound, which was painful. Even on the outside, it was painful. I could tell she was not allowed to, and she told me she wasn't allowed to tell me if I had had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. In her opinion, she said that there was a lot of blood in my stomach and that it didn't look good. So they sent it off to a radiologist, I think. The radiologist then said they did not think that it looked like a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. The medical staff was at disagreements about what was happening to me. I understood the urgency of the situation and was trying to figure out what the problem was, but there was a lot of disagreement amongst everyone as to what was happening. They had the woman who gave me the ultrasound up top come in and do a transvaginal ultrasound. I will not go into detail. It was the most horrific pain I've ever felt in my entire life. Finally, the emergency room team decided that they didn't know what the issue was and they wanted to bring in an OBGYN team. So we waited for about 45 minutes and the OBGYN doctors came in and did more horrible, excruciating tests inside of me that I believe will forever be the most painful experiences of my life, both mentally and physically. They came to the conclusion that there was 3 options, either a contusion of my tubes, I believe, which means that they thought maybe there was a twisting of my fallopian tube. And the hope was that I would go on and continue to have a happy and healthy pregnancy once they corrected the twisting of the tube. The next possibility was a cyst. And the last option was an ectopic pregnancy, possibly ruptured, possibly not. I would like to clarify what an ectopic pregnancy is. This is when an egg and a sperm meet, and instead of traveling down the fallopian tube into the uterus where you are able to grow a baby, for one reason or another, they don't make it outside of the tube and it implants outside of the uterus. It can be multiple areas. Most commonly, and in my situation, the embryo implanted in the fallopian tube, specifically my right tube, and a baby begins to grow. But this area, the fallopian tube, nowhere other than the uterus is viable. So my OBGYN said it would be one of these three. The hope was that it was the contusion of the tube and that I would go on to have a happy and healthy pregnancy. But the surgery outcome would essentially be a mystery. So I had to sign a lot of paperwork as to if it's this, I give consent to remove my fallopian tube. If it's this, I give consent, because they didn't know what it was, I had to essentially sign for like 3 different surgery options. So Daniel and I patiently prepared and waited for surgery. They moved us quickly up the list. Ectopic pregnancies happen in 1% of pregnancies and are life-threatening to the mother once they rupture. And I just want to say how insanely lucky I am to have a partner who advocated for me every step of the way and held my hand through the most excruciating pain I hopefully will ever have to go through. And not only that, but we were able to laugh and then cry and then laugh and then cry in the midst of pain. And I feel very lucky. I know that not all women have that support when they're going through something like this. We're coming to the end, I swear. They rolled me down the halls to the surgery room. I went to surgery hoping and praying that it was not a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. I was awoken from surgery and told, unfortunately, that it was a ruptured ectopic pregnancy and that they had to remove my right fallopian tube. I think I want to end this story there for now. I want to say to those of you who have lost a pregnancy, I am so sorry for your loss from the bottom of my heart. You and I don't have to have the same situation. I can have a ruptured ectopic pregnancy, you can have a miscarriage, you can have a stillbirth, whatever it is, we've all experienced pregnancy loss. I grieve with you, I stand with you, I validate your vast range of emotions, and I want you to know that you are not alone. I will end this video by saying that this is not the end of my story. I am trusting in the Lord's perfect timing and will for my life with every fiber of my soul. Be safe and spread kindness to others. You never know what someone else is going through. Love you.